All right, if y'all ready, we'll go ahead and get started. In our agenda, under unfinished business, I'd like to add the HVAC bids. And also, as first item under new business, we have a question on the 23 holidays that we need to discuss.
On what?
The 2023 holidays.
Oh, okay.
And I would make a motion. Anybody have anything else? I'd make a motion that the agenda be approved for those changes. Yes.
If you will recall, sir, the Oak Hill Road paving situation and amendment to the 22 LMIG, we were going to put that on the agenda to actually drop a road off and add Oak Hill Road because of the seriousness of the condition.
Okay, I would make a motion then that we also add, I wonder if we could leave that under unfinished business.
The action would be to amend the 22 LMIG list.
Can we do that?
Well, you wouldn't actually be voting on it today, you could discuss it under unfinished business.
Right.
Right, because it's already been, or Jim can advise about it under update to Public Works, and then you can amend the agenda tomorrow.
That work for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, update from USDA Wildlife Services. Yes, sir. Mr. Damon Hughes.
Mention I'm Damon Hughes. I work for United States Department of Agriculture, small division within that department known as Wildlife Services. I want to thank you for the opportunity to come here and speak with y'all today regarding the project that has been going on in northwest Georgia for about 20 years. We actually added some property this year, as I'll go into shortly. We'll try to keep this brief. I know y'all got a lot of business going on, but I just want to make y'all aware of what we're doing and what we will be doing in the future here in Gilmer County. So, back about 20 years ago, as part of a nationwide, well, it's eastern region, we started doing an oral rabies vaccine bait drop here in Georgia, but it was just the very northwest corner of the state. Last year, our program added some additional land to go across all the top tier counties here in Georgia, so from Dade County to Reagan County. And Gilmer is part of that. So the purpose of this is, it started out as a program to stop the western spread of raccoon strain of rabies. And there's several reasons for that. The biggest reason is the raccoon strain. I think there's 5 or 6 terrestrial strains here in the U.S., not including bats, obviously terrestrial strains, so you still have some bat strains. But in the eastern U.S., especially along the eastern seaboard, we're plagued with the raccoon variant. And based on studies that have been done, that raccoon variant of rabies is the most costly. There's more interaction with domestic animals, more interaction with humans. So our program decided that it would be worthwhile to try to stop this westward spread. Based on the studies that they did, if it continued to spread, it would just balloon as far as the cost. So that was the initial progress. We've had good success with stopping that. It really hadn't had any westward spread in the last 20 years. Now they're talking about just total elimination. I've got 10 more years before I can retire, so it probably won't happen on my watch, but it is a lofty goal, but it's something that's been done elsewhere. Even here in the U.S., we've eradicated the canine or dog strain. But As I mentioned, the raccoon variant, it's more problematic because you have a greater interspecies spillover. You have greater impacts to domestic animals, including agricultural, livestock, and human pet exposure risks are a lot higher. So, what this program consists of is we drop baits that are laced with they're actually packets here in Georgia. They look like a small ketchup packet. And they've got a fish meal coated on the outside to attract raccoons. That's our main focus. And we drop these, it's an aerial bait drop. We drop these out of fixed wing and rotary wing, or helicopters is more commonly known, planes. And we drop approximately 75 per square kilometer. And then these will be picked up by raccoons and other wildlife, but predominantly raccoons. And as they take it in, it's not really that they ingest it, but as they take it in, the vaccine itself works through, it's pulled up into their mouth, little sores and cuts they've got in there. Once they swallow it, it's actually inactive. So they've got to get enough in there for it to actually vaccinate them. We use the helicopters in urban, suburban areas. We can be a lot more focused on where we drop the baits, and then we use the fixed wing. That's the predominant thing we use to drop baits, because we're covering huge areas, as you might imagine, across Georgia. So, for example, we dropped 500,000 baits just in Georgia alone last year, over 500,000, and 3.7 million since 2003. So it's a pretty extensive project. And this project actually starts up in Maine and works all the way down the eastern seaboard. It's the western edge of the raccoon strain, where we know the raccoon strain. So really anything west of where we drop these baits, there shouldn't be any of the raccoon strain or raccoon variant of rabies. So here in Georgia, they're starting now up in the northeast corridor. But here in Georgia, it usually falls around the second week of October that we'll do this drop. We use King Air airplanes that we lease them, and the pilots that fly those from a company known Dynamic Aviation out of Virginia. They've been doing it with us for years. And here in Georgia, we'll stage out of the Dalton Airport, and we work the whole portion of Georgia up into the southern Tennessee portion and over into some into Alabama. It takes, depending on weather, it'll take anywhere from 5 to 10 days. Obviously, we get a lot of rainy weather, which, as you know, in October, it's unpredictable. We may be done in 5 or 6 days, and it may be 12 days if we're grounded some of those days. We fly, the biggest thing is we fly at 500 feet above ground level, and so the main reason we want the public to be aware of it is because you may see these planes, these white planes going back and forth at low levels, and sometimes that gets people, concerned, obviously, and helicopters in the urban suburban area. Currently, we're only using the helicopters in that northwest corner of the state. We had to wait a number of years to get enough data from dropping from the airplanes to know where those openings were that we needed to cover with the helicopters. So it's my belief in the future, places like LJ and some of these other cities here in the kind of central and eastern part of the state, we'll probably start using helicopters. But as of this year, to my knowledge, we won't be using those here. So you'll just see the airplanes, and we fly this, like I say, it's the grid lines that are set up, so it's straight pad, but we'll be flying back and forth. And then also packets. Occasionally people run into the packets. They'll be out hiking, or if they live in a rural area, their dog may pick one up and bring it home. There's some information on the packets that tells them where to call, and actually that call will be routed through the Environmental Health Department. they're kind of our liaison within the states that takes care of calls and has information about that. I believe y'all have in a packet that Ms. Edwin printed out for you, kind of some questions and answers, frequently asked questions. And my contact information is on this sheet with the slides on it on the last page. And of course, Ms. Edwin has that information. So if there's anything that comes up or any questions, please feel free to contact me. Then about 4 to 6 weeks afterwards, we will go into the areas that we baited. Again, we're focusing on some of these new areas, north central through the eastern part of the state. And we go in and we trap, our target is 120 raccoons. And we'll take those raccoons, we drug them, we take blood, we'll mark them with the ear tag, and then we'll release them at the site of capture. What this allows us to do, we'll send the serum of the blood off, and to a lab, they'll look at it, they'll do a titer on it, and that tells us the percentage of the population that actually took the bait, so we can see if we need to, up it or what we need to do to improve that uptake within the population. So you may see a USDA truck parked on the side of the road with their lights flashing or some live traps or something along those lines. Around the last week in October, usually I start the week right after Thanksgiving. That's kind of how it falls for us. And I believe Mr. Smith, I work with him to get permission to use the right-of-ways here on the county roads and stuff. So I want to appreciate that. It worked out well for us last year. And then the major takeaway for the public here is these baits are safe. They've been tested and over by the company that makes them. They were tested prior to release in over 60 different species, including primates, and they were shown to be safe. Dogs are known to go out and find these things, obviously, because the smell they have on them. And if they eat enough of them, they may get indigestion. But they are safe for, if a dog or a cat or something picks them up and eats them, they'll be fine. Maybe a little indigestion if they eat too many, but we know a lot of dogs are prone to do. But that's the major things I wanted to get across and let y'all know that we were doing this and kind of the purpose of it and when it would be taking place. I don't know if y'all have any questions or any of you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer it.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Thank y'all. Appreciate your time. Please feel free to contact me if you do have any questions in the future.
Thank you. Kevin, Parks and Rec. Good morning. Morning.
To start with, the top flight softball, past-pitch softball tournament we had at the end of the month, that is a big success. There's about 70 teams between Gilmer and Paving. Actually, I think they had to move a couple of teams down to Ferguson. It's actually a three-county tournament. It's only going to grow from there after a 4-day event. And in saying that, our lift station that we put in its job. So,
Good.
that's something we don't have to worry about anymore. Football season's here. We start practice this next week. We have 3 host dates, and plus we have the MFL Super Bowl hosting too. So that'd be a big event taking place at the end of the season. Football numbers is 126, which is I think 3 off from last year, so we're right about the same numbers. And cheer is at 105, and I think we was around 98 last year, so they're about the same. Thank you to the road department. It was Jim and them that started on our base for the parking lot where the tennis course used to be. And Carl was out there, the motor grader, getting everything ready to go, so it's going to look pretty good when they get finished. And I met with the foundation guy yesterday, so the foundation and footers for the new restrooms at the tennis court should be going in any time now. So, just a matter of getting on the waiting list for concrete, shortage of everything. And I guess you need to get together on the bid bid specs for that paving that's going to be taking place in the parking lot, so.
All right.
That's all I got.
Thank you,
Tell
Kevin.
them about the
Any
sinkholes
questions?
that just appeared in your parking lot.
Well, I didn't want to bring that up. This morning, or last night, there's a sinkhole that come up in the parking lot at the new playground. And it's nowhere near the new playground, but it's in the, I guess it's the corner closest to the health department, closest to the road. And so it's about 2.5 foot long and probably 1.5 foot wide and about 3 foot deep right now. But the road department's gonna come out here in a little while and dig it up and see if we can kind of, see what we can do. And I'm trying to contact West Block to see if they might be able to bring some concrete out and fill the hole. So, but we've got everything coned off right now. So, but that's not the first one we've had. We had one, what, 4 years ago?
Yeah, about three years ago.
And it was
In another area.
yeah, it was at the spring, so it was closer to the river. And this here kind of surprised me because it's so far from the river.
No, it's not.
Not here.
We get that taken care of today.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, are you guys part of the pickleball tournament this weekend? Or is that?
I would like to say that about pickleball though, I think we're up to like 122 members, 123 members. And that club just keeps growing and growing and growing by the day. So, and not to mention, I don't know if y'all noticed the windscreens that's on the pickleball courts. All those was provided by the pickleball club. They raised all the money, purchased all those, installed them too. So they're really active with it.
Thank you, Kevin. Golf course, well, Mike's not here. He's got a tournament this morning he's having to attend. Jim, Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners. Let me start with the road department, and I'll probably skip some items because you've got it on the agenda under unfinished business. But let me start with Hubert road paving that everyone has seen. We finished that on the 20th of June. So that is done. That was done by Colditz Paving, and I hope that you see our section. We milled that entire area to match the curb and gutter, and so I don't think we'll have problems with that, our section of that road for some time. The local maintenance grant from DOT, we had some unfinished items on those grants that have now been done. So we are in the current year working on 22 LMIG, and while I'm there, we are going to be requesting of you that the 22 LMIG list be amended, and the amendment would be the pushing back to 23 of Sam Hill Road. That is a paved road now. It would be, it's on the list as resurfacing, and add in its place Oak Hill Road. And the reason for that, folks, is had a logging operation out there, and Oak Hill Road runs from 382 to the Corps of Engineers property. And it's about 2 miles long, and the best way to fix it is to go in and actually rip up and resurface that entire road of about 2 miles. The dollar amounts between Sam Hill and Oak Hill match pretty closely, and we have already discussed this with DOT. They asked us to send them an amendment of the 22 list so they could look at the estimate. We have not heard back from them yet, but we anticipate that will not be a problem. So tomorrow night we're going to ask for you to amend that 22 LMIG road paving list to delay Sam Hill Road and add Oak Hill Road. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about that.
I wasn't sure that was a county road. I was out there a couple of years ago and it was an awful shape then.
Oak Hill Road, yeah, it needs, it should have been, yeah, it's a county road all the way to the gate of the Corps of Engineers branch. And at one time, the Corps of Engineers was working to try to provide a Boy Scout camp in that area. So that, although that road has not been heavily used in the past, the traffic continues to grow as it does on many roads, and from a priority standpoint, Oak Hill would outweigh Sam to be done this year. Any questions about that? Okay. As far as our contractor road paving, they started on the 27th of June. Of course, that's COVID's trucking and paving. They have done Legion Road, Roberts Ridge. They are currently, Karleen, I guess, on Flat Branch. They will move from there to Turniptown, and then from there to Mulkey Road. But they're doing a good job. And if you haven't seen some of their work, I invite you to go out and take a look at some of the work that the contractor is doing.
Yeah, I know I've pressed you on the contract paving for a long time. I appreciate what you're getting done.
Well,
Looks good.
thank you. Thank you. It takes time to get all of the things together, but we're moving now. The Flat Branch, he anticipates that he'll be finished with that possibly tomorrow, depending on weather, folks. All of this is contingent on weather. And that he will move into Turniptown Road either Friday or Monday. And so we move on from there. Flood control dams. Flood control dams, we have finished them. An invoice has been submitted to Limestone Valley. Now, the amount of money that we spent on 20, we have 20 flood control dams. Some people will call other dams flood control, but these 20 are designated flood control dams. The others, although they may diminish flooding and stuff like that, they are not designated as flood control dams. But $43,548 was spent this year on those 20 flood control dams, of course, and we have $16,000 in the budget, both as revenue for reimbursement from Limestone Valley, and we have $16,000 in expenses for them. So we will wind up eating the rest of that, right, Sandy? Yeah. Okay. The other two items that I want to discuss with you, you already have them as agenda items, so I'll pass over those. In solid waste, let me talk to you first about the lift station project. Tomorrow is the date that the contractor's time starts counting, the 14th of July. And he has started moving materials onto the site. He has the force main piping there now. The one thing that the key piece of material is the wet well that is a prefabricated concrete vessel. And Old Castle is the concrete company that is manufacturing that, and we do not have a good date yet for delivery of that wet well. As I said, it's the key piece, so I hope there isn't delays, but we haven't had good experience with Old Castle having water. As far as our operations, during the month of June, if you haven't been to the landfill, we have added the third compactor. There, Waste Pro, our vendor, has set that compactor up, and we now have it operational. We also have a new convenience center shed for the attendant there that mans all three compactors from that one location. That is in place, and to my knowledge, we haven't had any problems, Gary. But other than that, I'll entertain any questions that you might have. And the other items, as I say, you've got them as agenda items, Charlie.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Update on the swimming pool, Stephen.
Good morning, Charlie, Hubert, Karleen, David. Good news. We finally got the engineering in, and they're over with David. So we're ready to go.
All right, we're ready to bid.
Ready to bid.
I got them earlier this week, and I'll be incorporating them into the documents. You'll probably be eligible to submit it, not this upcoming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. And it'll go out on the Georgia procurement as well. In addition, in prior discussions with Kevin, the architect is going to help solicit contractors as well, general contractors for the project, if I recall correctly. And that's one of the benefits that we were able to utilize with using this contract, or this architect.
And have we approved bidding, or do we need to do that tomorrow night?
Best I recall, you have, but it went and I'll discuss it tomorrow to see if it's, I've got to look at the table of contents on the resolutions, but I believe you have. Edwin is making a note, so I guarantee you by the time I get to the office, there'll be an email in my inbox saying, yes, we have, or no, we haven't.
You don't have to bury me now, Hubert. I've got it done.
That's great. That is good news.
Any questions?
Thank you, Stephen.
Like pulling teeth.
Okay, next item would be HVAC bids. They came in quite a bit higher than what we were anticipating.
In addition, one of them has a delayed implementation and estimated completion. I don't know if y'all did that or not.
Both of them.
Yeah.
But no, I I think one is really pushed out pretty good ways.
6 months. for the
I
guarantee.
think 30 weeks was the soonest, wasn't it? Earliest. Yeah.
One was 30 weeks, and one was 32 to 34 weeks.
One of the questions that came up, I was discussing with Eric the other day. The original bids on this,
Under 400,000, wasn't it, Eric?
$390,950.
And the only real difference between that and what we recommended here was that it be incorporated into the computer system here. And this thing's up almost double.
Yeah, it's almost $400,000 more.
I can't imagine it takes that much to integrate it into the computer system. And it sure seems like a short period of time to have doubled in cost. I don't know where I'm going with this. I mean, it's just an observation that I have. It just seems like
we didn't have a good bid.
that could be.
These are so close. I tend to think
Yeah.
the other bid was not good.
Well, I believe, Sandy, we should still be okay with the money we have allocated for this. Even once you include the jail units. So, given the fact that we're looking so far out, I think we probably should take some action on it tomorrow and go ahead and pick one of these folks.
Which one do you want to pick?
Whichever one's low.
That's what I was thinking.
If I can just put a little information in there, I will tell you that the lowest bid on there, that gentleman actually came and we took him on the roof and he looked at everything. The one that's a little bit more, they never stepped foot on the property. So the one that has the lower bid was actually here and looked at everything, so.
That work.
And what's the status of the jail?
We're trying to get a second quote right now. We do have one quote, but since we're doing this on an emergency basis and skipping the bid process, we do need to have a minimum of 2 quotes, so we're trying to get that second quote. Okay. Any questions on that? That'll bring us then to discussion, possible action, approval of revisions to the Waste Pro contract. Jim, you want to give us, you and Jay, give us an update on where we are here?
Yeah. Of course, Waste Pro is the vendor that was selected, and we have some items that still are unfinished in order for the contract to be finalized. I think the 2 items in question is the fuel surcharge, and everybody knows what is happening to fuel right now. And the other is the terms of the contract, different from what it was actually advertised. And I will yield to Jerry Harrison, who is with Waste Pro, and County Attorney, and Charlie, those that have been involved in discussions.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, when I was here last month, the question came up about the fuel surcharge we talked about in your office, and the question came up, will we go down? And I just had to go and run it through our finance department to see if that was something that was feasible, and yes, it is. we'll set a base. I talked to Mr. Wright last night. We'll set a base like we talked in your office that day for July base rate. And so once we end July, we'll have a base rate to go from, because July won't be an issue anyway. So we'll go from there. So we did get approval.
Jerry, do you want to explain how you shared with me the calculation of the base rate would be calculated?
It will be an average of what we pay for fuel. We buy fuel in bulk. We actually go to a bulk station, not a quick trip type deal. So we use Jones Oil out of Pickens County, and at the end of the month we'll have a base rate, an average of what we paid all month, and that will be our base. And that's, I mean, really that's the only way to do it. So we're not going to go with, national or southeast, because we discussed all that. We'll use what our actual costs are. So.
But everything in your memo to David Clark talked about escalating. I haven't seen anything that talked about de-escalating.
Yeah, well, that came up last time we was here. So yes, that was the question that was posed, that came up while I was here.
You're going to work that into whatever amendment?
We'll fix that.
Yes, and you will see that either at a later special call or at the August meeting, because of course y'all need to sign and approve the contracts. You'll see that final calculation. But we can't even, we can put it in as far as the language, as far as the calculation of the base and being based on the average for the 31 days in July, but we won't know the actual number. But if we move on it in August, we'll be good.
We can put a line of placeholder for it, and just fill it in. Because it'll be an email from the company. I'll get an email from Jones stating this is what it was, what our price was.
Yeah. We may need further documentation than just simply an email on that calculation.
I mean, I can get whatever he can give me. If you just tell me exactly what you need, and I'll go to him and say, hey, this is what I need.
Okay.
And it may be an invoice. I don't know if that works for you.
With just something on letterhead saying.
We'll discuss it, Charlie.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's easy. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever you need.
Okay.
The other thing he was talking about is the terms. The terms have changed so much since we talked about this in January. When this was put out, we bid on it. The terms was a 5-year contract. We put in a price for it didn't change the halls and all that. We put in a price for the lease of the equipment for that term. And we were asked to reduce that. So we said, well, we got we got $350,000 worth of equipment. To reduce that, we have to, it's like when you buy a car, or at least a car, you spread it out a little more. So we asked it to go up some, and now we're saying, what we're saying is, look, with the volatile market we're in, we're afraid to go into a 5 or 10 year contract with no increases, no opportunities for increases. And you have to understand that. I mean, it's, especially with fuel. Labor has been a big issue this year, but I think we've kind of leveled that out a little. We took that into consideration when we did bid the prices. But, we're afraid to go into anything and, take that chance for 3, 4, 3, 5, 10 years. I mean, we just can't do it because no one knows what's going to happen with fuel. And fuel is a big driver for us because it's not only our trucks, it's all the parts for our trucks, the tires, the oil changes, and then the landfill. The landfill has these same expenses, so they raise the landfill on us. So that's just why we're saying, okay, well, let's rethink this, and let's, back to our original term was a 10-year, 1-year agreement, 10 1-year agreements. We go back to that, and it just at least gives us an opportunity to come to you and ask, say, hey, here's where we're at. We're struggling, and we're doing this. I made a comment to Jim yesterday, I want you to use us because you want to use us, because the service is great. And, you can call me and get me on the phone anytime, day or night, whatever. That's what I want you to use us for. And I want us to want to be here because it's profitable business for us. It's got to be a good fit for both. I want to have a relationship, not because a piece of paper says we have to. So I just want to make sure I protect Waste Pro, and that's what I was hired to do. Right. But at the same time, I want to be a good partner to Gilmer County.
So you're talking about an initial 3-year and then optional 1 years after that?
Yes.
Up to 10, yeah.
just back to like it was in the beginning. In the beginning, it was a 5-year with 1-year options.
Yeah.
I believe is what it was. Well, it's changed so many times. I don't know, David, maybe you know back. Maybe you remember. I actually went back
Yeah.
and took a copy of it. Hang on a minute, I can read it to you if I can see it. I'm getting old. I told him I'll be 53 soon. They can't see anymore. This just says the term of the agreement shall be.
Child.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what I said. It depends on who's looking at it. My side, I'm getting old. My kids, I'm getting old. But the term of this agreement, I don't remember exactly which one because we're going through a few, but it just reads that the term of the agreement shall be a 10-year period. And I believe this is the first one after we did the renegotiations of dropping our lease rates down. It starts January 22nd, ended December of 30/31 with provisions automatic renewals. After the first anniversary, December 31st, 2022, the county and the company shall both have the right to terminate the agreement annually by giving the other 60 days notice. So, you know, if we go back to something like that, at least we can come and talk. It gives you an opportunity to talk to us and us an opportunity to talk to you.
Speaking just for myself, I'm fine with it.
3 or 5?
The 3 years and then 1 year optional up to 10.
I appreciate your honesty and working with us on
Yeah,
this.
well, that's the only way.
I think 3 to 5 would be better, but 3 is good.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Well, let's get this thing done and keep rocking.
Absolutely.
Hey, we appreciate your business, we do. And you know, just so you guys know, I mean, we bought Gilmer Trash this month, just some things that's taking place with us. So we're actually up here now in the residential business. So we're really getting involved with the community. We're actually looking for a location up here to maybe drop a small outfit. But we bought Gilmer Trash and we're rocking and rolling. We've got 2 residential routes running here now. Got a front load route that comes up here twice a week. So, and then of course my roll-off's here 5 to 6 days a week.
Well, you've been giving us good service. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir. We do appreciate the business. We do. All right. If you guys need me, call me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, discussion and possible action on contract amendment on the Old North Cut Road. Jim?
Okay, let me preface my remarks because the next 2 items on the unfinished business here, some of the same things apply. During my medical sabbatical, you entered into a contract or approved a contract for a road improvement that was to be paid for or partially paid for by the developer of a outdoor venue on Old North Cut Road. The problem that we had with the contract that you approved is that you used an estimate that we prepared that was in your own. As we all know, those numbers are no longer applicable. I met with Karen and the representative for the developer, provided him with that list, with that estimate, and the way I left it was he was going back to the developer to get approval, and at that point in time, we told them that they could find their own contractor and do the work under our supervision. As I understand it, then during the absence, they came back and said they couldn't find a contractor willing to do the work, and so it fell back in our lap. And what you have in your packet is a quotation from Colditz, who is our current contractor that has looked at the project. And what we're talking about doing is widening a section of Old North Cut Road, I think it's 528 feet, to an 18-foot width that would permit 2 vehicles to pass. And I think you see there that the Colditz quote, that is for binder and leveling, because it's basically a patch job. I think it's 32,000. Is that what it is? It's by email.
It's $32,080.
Right. And so what I am suggesting or recommending that the contract amendment, the contract that you approve be amended to include the new amount, because the way the contract reads right now, it's $18,000, and it can't be done for that.
Since there's not been any work commenced under the old contract, I would just recommend entering into a new contract rather than an amendment.
Is the developer willing to pay this amount?
I have no idea.
So we need to know that before we approve the contract.
Well, if the developer's not willing to pay it, then in my mind, they'll be the COO for their business because it's.
I'm sorry, Charlie, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said if the developer doesn't want to pay it, then they can't get a COO for their event area because this is a necessary part of that.
Right.
So I don't see this as if they're not a kind of a thing.
Well, let me just say this. I just learned yesterday that this situation gets a little more complicated because Ms. Henson has a subdivision plat that I haven't seen, that I'll be reviewing tomorrow, that proposes a back entrance from this subdivision on Old North Cut Road before the end of county maintenance. Have I described that correctly, Karen? So it gets even more complicated. And Charlie, I'm sure I will get you involved and probably the county attorney too.
Okay.
The road's not sufficient, kind of subdivision.
Well, Hubert, we have to have 18 feet as a minimum for 2 vehicles. The illegal traffic lane is 9 feet wide. So we've got to have, there may not be any traffic, as I understand it from talking with Karen, from the surveyor, that this is an emergency entrance. But as I said, I haven't seen that yet. But the Old North Cut thing gets more complicated as we go on. But I think the first thing is that we amend the contract that you approve to the amount, and then we present that to the developer, and if the developer says right, then
We want a new contract.
Yes, we'll do a new contract, but may I, the proposed subdivision that's going to use the emergency entrance, exit, ingress, egress, however you want to characterize it, how many lots are in that subdivision?
Karen, would you like to tell them how many lots potentially there would be in that subdivision? 215.
215?
215.
I think before y'all move forward on this, I mean, that's such a small stretch of the road from the end of county maintenance to where it hooks into Highway 515 right there. This may need to be, that entire road, the surface and area may need to be examined, because that 215 emergency exit is probably going to turn into more of a regular use exit because of its proximity to 515. And that may be a sharing arrangement between not only the event owner, but the project, the subdivision developer should participate.
As I understand it now, and I'm just, I'm quoting what I was told verbally, the developer of this venue and the developer of the subdivision have already, there is gonna be an exchange of land or exchange of rights of way or something in order for them to get the Old North Cut. So we need more detail.
I would, yes, I don't know that it's necessary to proceed with taking action on it until y'all can get an understanding as to what's going to go on behind it. Because that, where you turn off for the event venue will be before where you will turn off to go with that back entrance to the subdivision.
That is correct.
And if it's 215 lots, you can probably likely assume at least 70 are more likely going to use that back entrance.
Well, one of the things, and I have not talked to Keith Casera, I understand, Karen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the public safety representative has already looked at the first plat that you have,
He has.
and he signed off on it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, and I don't know if this was an oversight or what, but what I see coming is actually this proposed subdivision entrance, folks, would be on Back Pine Way. And it encompasses 500 plus acres,
3 acres.
215 lots, and extends all the way up to Old North Cut. I'll be happy to take you out there and give you a tour, but it gets dicier as the days go on.
So planning and zoning approved plats, right?
They haven't
I
approved
know,
this plat.
that's their job.
Yes.
So, leave me off the camera.
Charlie, I haven't had a chance to discuss this with you because I just learned it yesterday, so I apologize for that. But anyway, whatever the county attorney said, we'll do.
Charlie,
We delay.
I think it would behoove us for you and I, Jim, to grab a copy of that proposed preliminary and go out there and look and see what's.
Yeah.
Because
I
because
think so too.
getting on Back Pine is not a good road, and I can just.
No, but, and David, I haven't seen what is being proposed. I understand that the developer is proposed to widen Back Pine Way to a 20-foot road, and this property lays right next to the DOT right-of-way for 515. If you turn right on Back Pine Way, you'll have the new body shop on the right. This property lies on the left and goes all the way to the foot of Walnut Mountain. But I'll be happy, you all need to get a van and take a tour of what's going on in the county. But I think the attorney's advice here would be that we try to get all of the pieces of the puzzle together, because right now it's fragmented. You don't know everything that's going on.
Well, as you know, I have a high interest in getting this road done. Not because I have any personal interest in it, just because it's something I promised about 3 years ago. So let's take our tour and get this thing done and get something decided and get somebody out there on the ground.
Yeah, Charlie, it deserves a road trip.
And I'm not suggesting that it's not, and while Colditz is mobilized, we better do it, because that has been the biggest problem out there, is the short stretch and the inability to get an asphalt company to come do it and do the work. Hubert, I think you've got a question, maybe 2 points.
What you promised 3 years ago was only this little half-mile stretch, or 10th-of-a-mile stretch. You didn't promise subdivision.
Oh, no. What I promised, the complaints I was getting was that this was a single line road that wasn't going to be able to handle the traffic when there was an event. And after speaking with the folks out there and them at that time agreeing to pay the cost of it, I promised them we would widen and pave, at least up to the point of the venue. But I just, I feel bad about telling them, you know, we're gonna do this, and 3 years later, we still haven't, so I just have an interest in getting this done as quickly as possible.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And Hubert, so you understand the cost of $32,000 is just the cost for the asphalt. It would be a shared project. The road department, we would come in and we would actually prepare the rough for the widening. And it's on both sides of the road because of the limited right-of-way and the terrain. We would do that, and then the paving contractor would come in and put binder down on the areas where we widened. And then there would be a 1.5-inch level layer of topping that would go over the entire road, so it didn't look like a patch, and it would not erode away. So the road department, we've still got skin in the game, even at $32,000.
Jim, how many days' work do you anticipate that is involved with the road department?
Well, Ronnie Chadwick and I and Ryan have all been there, and they estimate that we can do our part in 2 to 3 days.
Okay. And of course, everything's weather permitting, but the Colditz is got 3 roads left, right?
Yeah, but, and I've had 2, Mr. Bill Thompson, who is co-owner of Colditz. We've been up there a number of times, and what he told me yesterday that he would do is he would do our roads first, and then they would take care of the Old North.
Okay, then that timeline is not going to allow the board to delay till August most likely, because they're moving pretty efficiently and fast on the county roads that they're paving.
They're probably going to be 2 weeks, David, on Turnip Town, and then Mulkey after that.
You got 30 days to the next meeting, though.
Yeah, it may come quicker than that, but
But again, let's.
Oh, yeah. That's for the,
We could add it.
Yeah, throwback.
From a scheduling perspective, though, is if you all going to authorize it until that special call meeting, it's going to take that road department 3 days to do the work site prep, and that's weather permitting, and Colditz may be already finished or very close to finishing, and we'll be removing the equipment, so y'all need to consider that when you make your decision tomorrow night.
What do we need to do tomorrow night?
If you want to go ahead and authorize the contract, but we still haven't heard any, I don't know that it's been presented to the property owner at this point in time.
no, it hasn't. I mean, I wanted to present it to the Board of Commissioners first.
Well, I think then, over the course of the next 24 hours, it probably needs to be presented to the property owner to see what that response is going to be. And then if that response is favorable, then the board, I think, probably can go ahead and approve the entering into the contract at that point in time. And that way you can, during the paving of Turnip Town and or Mulkey, your crew can do what's necessary to get that site ready before, because once Colditz leaves, that price quote is going to change.
Yeah, because then it's mobilization and everything else. I mean,
So we don't have the luxury of really taking a lot of time. In the meantime, you and I and Charlie can take that tour out there to look at it. And
I think the other 2 commissioners need to tour too. I think you need to get a feel for everything that is going on in that area of the county.
and that's fine. It would be an inspection of county properties, so you'd be eligible to do so. So it would be a first, though, with respect to a subdivision and connection to a county road. So I don't know if y'all want to get that heavily involved in that
For myself, I don't mind getting that heavily involved in it for this, but I just want to make sure we're not doing anything that might come back and bite us later on. So I don't want to skirt the sunshine law anyway.
No, you be inspecting county road, it's the road, you gotta look at it to determine if you, in your opinion, as commissioners, if there are improvements that would be necessary to make it suitable and workable for that back entrance to that subdivision. Plus, you'd be looking at this site where the proposed widening of the road would be taking place if you're getting ready to enter into a contract.
We have it flagged, so visually you can actually see where we would be working. We have little flags stuck in the ground that shows how much that we would have to take off of each, or improve on each side of the road to get the 18-foot roadway. So we can show it to you visually and if you can't go together, we'll take you separately.
Would y'all rather set a time and place to go together, or just have Jim take you out there on your own schedule?
I don't care, I'm fine to go alone.
I'm okay either way, I don't, if we're talking, I'm leaving town for a week, so.
Let's ask this question then, is it possible that y'all could all meet out there tomorrow afternoon before the scheduled meeting at 6?
I can, maybe raining, but I can.
Maybe at 4:30, and that gives us maybe time then to get back to this meeting, scheduled meeting. 4?
I should really.
Okay. And then Jim, will you have the plats? Will you bring the plats?
She has the plat. She's got plat review tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and I don't know if you got an extra copy of the plat. So I'll show you that too.
Okay.
Where do we decide, are we meeting on the road or here?
Yeah, I think it'd be better to meet here and travel together if
Okay.
possible. It may require 2 vehicles, but nonetheless, travel together so there's less vehicles out there at the site.
Charlie and I, we do this a lot, so I mean, it might be a new thing for the commissioners.
They get to
It's
take a
not
road
new
trip.
for us. Just trying to keep Charlie from getting lost.
And is there,
You did a pretty good job.
Oh, yeah, that's
is there a
right.
conceptual plan that's in a PDF?
It's the second page of the preliminary.
Is this something that you could share with the commissioners prior to the meeting so that they could at least see the conceptual plan?
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna meet tomorrow at 4:30 here?
4.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, Jim.
I'm ready for the next one. Item 3 of unfinished business is discussion and possible action of the contract amendment for the Vineyards at Yukon, Pleasant Valley Road. First of all, I invite you all to go out and take a look at the improvements that the developer, Mr. Holt, has done on Pleasant Valley Road and his entrance into the Vineyards. Again, what you did during my absence is you entered into a contract for the improvements based on an estimate of $125,000, and that estimate is a year old. Subsequent to that contract being approved, and the way you did it, and if I had been here, I would have.
We're just gonna have to quit getting sick, Jim.
I know, I've had enough surgeries, I can't have any more. I'm running out of skin. But what you did, and I understand the reason for doing it, is you approved and entered into a contract with Wells Construction, which was a contractor, was not the total contractor for the Pleasant Valley project, only for the dirt moving. Well, and when you entered into that contract, then you limited the ability for the developer to pick another contractor if that contractor didn't work out, and to have another contractor that actually does the paving. And after pointing this out to David, he and I both agreed that we should amend that contract, removing the name of Wells as the contractor with the county, and at the same time amending the amount of the contract from $125,000 up to the amount that has been spent out there. We have verbal approval from Mr. Holt that he is amenable to that contract amendment and also the new contract amount. So I would highly recommend to you that you approve the contract amendment. And basically what the amendment will do is it gives the developer the ability to select whatever contractor they want to select and also amend the amount. But this is kind of after the fact because the project's done. And
That's what I was going to say.
need to go out there and look at it. Have I explained it correctly, David?
Yes, but we put the contractor in there based on Bill Holt's representation.
I understand that.
We didn't just draw that out of the air.
Right,
So, I mean,
right.
that's the
I
reason
understand.
that contractor was
I
selected, and unfortunately, for some reason, the contractor was unable to complete both.
He wasn't even able to do the paving.
Yeah.
You know, he's not qualified to do the paving. So it's just it's a housekeeping matter for us.
Okay, so we've already got a verbal approval, and we just need to get the contract out and get it signed, and we'll be good, is that right?
A draft copy of the contract has been provided to Mr. Holt's representative, along with the actual accounting for what has been paid or to be paid. So with your approval of that, then I can go back and say, hey, the Board of Commissioners agrees.
Can we have that ready for approval tomorrow night?
It's already been prepared, it's just
Okay.
simply needs to be approved by y'all.
Okay.
Ordinarily wouldn't do things after the fact, am I correct?
I didn't realize the road was completed out there.
I did, and I
That's-
wondered what happened. I just want to wait and see what happened.
That's a first to me. I
Well,
didn't.
let me explain why, because the paving contractor that did Pleasant Valley is the same contractor that is working inside the development. And so,
It doesn't matter. We've been asked to approve something that's already happened. And, that's my point.
That's a good point.
I think our legal person would agree with me, it's not good. What happens if we're not to approve?
I'm not qualified to answer that, the county attorney.
We have no money involved.
We would, I think.
I think the contracting party is the county as far as the asphalt. Am I correct, Jim?
Pardon?
We've got money on deposit, correct? The county's got money on deposit.
All of the money that was on deposit has been expended or very close to it.
So the county is the one that's been paying the bills out there, so to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay, And then we have an increase in the costs that have occurred out there, and it has been finished.
A combination of increase in cost and changes that the developer chose to make.
As of today, who wrote that check to the contractor?
That lady right there.
And I think that's what Hubert's saying is that we've got an increase in the cost of the contract, and it was allowed to be completed, but without having it be amended prior to. Now, in this situation, we've got a developer that will work with us and be very cooperative.
Look, Mr. Holt is very.
Yeah, and I don't think
that's
Hubert's.
that wouldn't always be the case. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and approve it with the understanding.
What's the final, what's the total? We can see that. in-
Total amount, Jim? New amount?
The new amount is, gosh, bring that.
I think it was around 175, was it?
The 125 was the original contract, the original estimate, and he's gone over $42,000. Is that right, Sandy? So the new amount would be the difference between the 125.
You'll work with us in the future on let this happen, right?
Pardon?
You'll work with us in the future
I
on
hope
let this happen.
that it don't, if I don't get sick again, it won't happen. Yeah.
Jim, we have a new county policy on that. You can't get sick again.
All right, son.
Okay. All right, anything else on this?
Of course, this is not something you take action on, is it?
Actually, I think that we may have already taken action, we just need to have a little discussion.
Okay.
So,
And in fact, we should have had that discussion under the HVAC, so.
okay, thank you, Jim.
You're still in unfinished business, if that's what.
Yeah, this is this climate control thing. We have a situation at the Learning Center, which is the one half of the health department out there, where the air conditioning is totally gone, cannot be repaired. It's 33 years old, so I guess we've gotten our use out of it. And this is a cost to completely replace that, and it's another situation where kind of like the jail where it's out, and in July that's a bad situation, so we're just trying to kind of get that through on an emergency basis, sort of like the jail. Plus, at that amount, we probably get by without bidding anyway. I have asked for a second quote. We're working on that, but
For the Learning Center?
in fact, this is,
Got
I'm
two
sorry,
quotes.
this is the second quote.
Yep.
The first one you'll find is the page under it, I believe. Original quote was 21,500, and this is 19,550. So, but it's something that we need to get done. And even with this, it probably won't be a while just to get the unit, but we just need to get it done.
I think we approved this as an emergency.
I was thinking we had, but we didn't have the quotes back then. So,
Is the health department's AC good?
No,
it's
health
good.
department's on it, they've got their own AC.
But it's
This
good
is just
shape.
the Learning Center, yeah. And also with that second quote, he's doing more work, he's putting disconnects and stuff on the outside of the building, so he's putting more into it at a little lower price.
But we did discuss it, we just didn't have the quotes at that time, so you have an actual figure.
Okay, new business, the holiday, an issue has come up because there's some grant applications that they're asking about holidays on, and that's all the information I have about that, at this point.
The specific holiday that's being asked about is Juneteenth. A lot of people are asking that we add Juneteenth to our holiday list. What we do, as I understand it, we mimic the state holidays. And the reason we do that is so that we're in line with court dates and that sort of stuff. We don't wind up with a county holiday when they're having court or vice versa. So typically we just mimic the county holidays, the state holidays. Now it's my understanding that the state has added Juneteenth as a holiday. As far as I know, they haven't substituted another one for it. But my feeling on this is, in terms of celebrating Juneteenth, is we continue to just do whatever the state does. So I'm just throwing that out for y'all to give me some guidance on it.
That makes sense to me, for the court's reasons.
Which is the reason we
How many holidays that give us 13?
at 13. Okay. Yeah. They would assume that this is not a substitute holiday, and I'm pretty sure it's not. Okay. So basically what we'll do is we'll just pull up the state holidays and continue to go with that. Okay. We have some rezoning requests. The first one is Mitzi Miller from R1 residential low density to R2 residential high density. The purpose of that would be to split the property to build 8 homes that would be affordable homes. I guess the first question, I have 2 questions on this. First of all, there are references throughout this about the fact that we have obtained state support on this. I'm not aware of that. What state support have we obtained?
I'm not familiar with that either. I know that the Habitat community wants to use.
I read it as the state supports affordable housing in general. I didn't read it as the state supports this
Now, the
property.
only thing that I recall from the public hearing was that one lot was going to be donated to Habitat to build a home on, and possibly 2, depending on how the first one goes. But, and of course, the GIC is the Georgia Initiative Community. They're in favor of this, and because of the need.
Well, based on Karleen's comment, I can see, that with GIG, that can be deemed as state support.
I don't think it has anything to do with this property.
No, they don't. It's just that, just in general.
This is
That's
just
what they're
basic.
kind of looking for, not with regard to this specific parcel.
Right.
Here's what I'm saying. The county has received assistance to support building affordable homes due to the lack of homes for middle-class families. I'm not aware of any assistance that we have. And I look at that as financial assistance.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what that might be referring to.
This is item 5 under the criteria page.
Well, I guess that could look like the gig. I mean, that could, but we still did not receive any assistance. We just received education.
Right.
Yeah.
And we pay for,
Yeah, and then there's the New Beginnings program, but that's not anything that goes through the county either. It's a private program.
I just reading through that, mine is a thought.
and that could be that the assistance, meaning that we earned the gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see that, it's
Right.
just my initial thought was that they were saying that we had some financial assistance.
Right, I see how that could be read either way. I will say, I spoke to David, I do sit on Habitat for Humanity board. So I will recuse myself from this vote, so it's not to look partial. But Mitzi Miller is donating one possible 2 lots to Habitat.
I'd venture to say this was not written by the property owner.
I'm sorry?
I'd venture to say this explanation was not written by the property owner,
Yeah, really.
because she wouldn't be familiar with,
Well, now her proxy on this is
right.
Kent Sanders, who would be very familiar with that.
Right.
So, and that kind of lends credence to the idea that it's really a reference to give and not specific financial support. So, okay. I just wanted to be confident on that. The other question that I have is, this is specifically, and there's 2 or 3 places in here where it indicates that these are to be affordable homes. I guess my question is, do they have a definition of affordable?
I don't think, I don't think they get that detailed in. I think they're gonna try to do, probably 2-bedroom homes, with a, probably no garage. I would think would just be the 2-bedroom on a slab and, just the most inexpensive but yet comfortable home.
But
It would
they
be
can do whatever they want.
necessary to meet the needs.
Has anybody really said that's what they're gonna do?
Don't have any plans. All we've got so far
That
is just
concerns
the,
me too, because
yeah,
it's
just,
wide open. And
I will
designers-
say in speaking to the property owner, Mitzi Miller, that that's her goal on that, to do them as minimally as possible, but comfortable. She wants to do them independently, she's not bringing in any other developer to keep the cost down, so.
But some person raised the question in the public hearing about there not being any guarantee, and there was no response to that.
well, and of course there's not, but the true intent of the gift and the build is,
It was only one gift.
yeah, but the entire property is supposed to be used for that purpose.
But there's no restriction, there's no deed restriction.
No, they could put whatever they
I mean,
wanted to.
things change overnight. She passes away tomorrow, her estate says, man, we want to maximize this.
Mhm. Yeah, there would be nothing that would limit them.
I didn't know if I could talk.
I probably let you get away with that last comment. You're gonna recuse yourself, you really need to stay out of the conversation.
That's hard to do.
I want to tell you what I know about the properties that aren't being voted on.
You're willing to vote. I mean, you don't have any financial benefit.
I have no financial benefit, of course. It's just being on the board, but if you think I can vote, then
I don't see why being on the board would be indicative of conflict. Again, it necessarily not a family member. I mean, there's some questions in here that we probably need to look at to make certain, but, and you haven't received any campaign contribution from her, and, get back in there. And you don't have any ownership, indirect or, yeah, so at this point in time, join in.
I take my mind with recusal. I think really what we're just voting on is if it can be R2, right? We're not voting on what they do to develop.
Well, I think that's the problem, is if we vote on it R2 based on the indication that affordable homes are going in there, and then they put in $500,000 homes,
Right.
there's
But
nothing we can do about it, once we approve the R2.
even though I am absolutely not for the $500,000 homes, the property itself, the lots across the street and all are very small lots, less than a half acre, right, on some of them? So it fits, it
Water is available to the whole
works, it makes
property.
sense for that to be an R2. Now, I've spoken to the property owner myself, and I know that she wants to do the affordable homes. I hear you, Hubert, on that she could change her mind or pass away, God forbid, But her intent is to, she thinks that is a good area because of the home sizes and the lot sizes and the water available to help keep the costs down to do that. And she is looking to donate one, possibly two, to Habitat. And the first home being built, if this all pans out, is a 3-2 because the family has 2 children for Habitat, just to clarify that. But still on a slab, I think.
The bigger concern I had is you're adding 8 or 9 driveways directly onto a busy county road. And I'm surprised
That is
Jim
just been
Smith did
revamped.
not raise Cain.
That has just been revamped. Karen has a conceptual plan that I don't know if you provided.
It's in the packet,
It's in the packet.
8 lots.
The only, I guess the only recommendation that I would have, and I don't even know if it's possible, instead of 8 or 9 driveways coming out on Roberts Ridge, if the property could be designed in such a fashion that where it limited the entrance, you know,
You
to.
could do an easement on the property line for each two lots and have it shared.
No, I'm talking about doing it more in a cluster with a single road coming out onto Roberts Ridge, and then the individual driveways would come onto that single road.
If you require road improvement up there, which is what it sounds like you would be, then you're gonna take the affordable housing aspect out
Well,
of
you'd
it.
be creating a major subdivision instead of 8 homes.
Yeah, it's
Well,
gonna
that's what
drive
I
that
don't
per
know.
acre
That's
lot.
you know,
Huh?
Whether it could be still be a minor subdivision, if it was designed differently to where all of them kind of came out on Roberts Ridge Road, that a entrance be cut into the property, and then the lots in sort of a cluster. It'd be like a cul-de-sac or something like that. I could see ways that that property could be designed better to handle 8 houses.
I think you could half the number of driveways by doing two driveways off of one entrance in
Well,
22 lots.
Then you get into joint driveway agreements and stuff like that.
I think she's just mimicking what's exactly across the street, which is driveway for each.
Karleen, I get that, but that was done years ago. You know, we should be better than that today.
I don't know that, so we should.
Well, we don't want to take away from the affordability.
Right, for sure.
No, you have to build a road, then that's, you know.
I mean, how does the property lie? Does it even situate itself really well for the construction of 2 interior roads with cul-de-sacs?
It wouldn't have to be 2, it just have to be 1.
Well, I mean, does it lie well? And I mean, I just heard a tenth of a stretch of road costing the county about 32 plus the road improvement, road department labor too, so.
I'm not even sure anybody's even looked at that as a possibility.
These contour lines make it seem to me that this would be fairly steep.
I didn't even see that, Charlie. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Charlie. It drops fast.
I know the Miller family has a good reputation. I don't want to take away from that in anything I've said. And what we're being asked to do is take a leap of faith here. I don't like as many driveways coming onto the road, but if we could cut that in half, as Jim was saying, that'd sure help.
8 driveway cuts within the linear feet that we're talking about on Roberts Ridge, that is pretty dense. to Karleen's point, across the road, yes, but that was done 20, 25 years ago.
David, could they not just put driveway easements in between each lot to have 4 instead of 8? And work it out that way rather than having so many, just 2 share a driveway, 2 lots share a driveway?
We're getting into site distances and things of that
Well, you
nature.
gotta have that anyway, you
I mean,
gotta-
I don't know that you have any data to look at with respect to that. I can see the board's concern about the driveway connections, but at the end of the board, I think the board would just be arbitrarily pulling something out of the hat if it says 4 driveways, or, I think the road department, or Jim as the public works department head, really probably needs to give the board some factual data to suggest how many it probably can accept out there. It may be 3, it may be 2, it may be 4, it could be 5, I'm not sure. All we have before us is the topography map, and that's it. I see where the road turns, Roberts Ridge turns to the west as you leave the property, and that turn right there may be such that the driveway is not really advantageous to the traveling public.
But how wide is that lot?
I'm not even sure that Ms. Miller has done a minor subdivision plat yet.
Well, it's conceptual. It's not,
Right, it's conceptual, so
but it's there.
the concept that you guys are looking at, as I understand, unless something changes, that would be the minor subdivision plat. And I think that if we had, and I don't even know who did the plat,
Chastain.
but we possibly can talk to the surveyor and the owner and see what kind of arrangement there would be to just having 8 driveways coming out on Roberts Ridge Road, one after another for the entire length of the frontage of the property on Roberts Ridge.
You know, depending on how far back these homes are built, I could envision that you could have 8 driveways, they could all have their own driveway. But as you approach the road and get closer, perhaps these driveways join. And there would be easements involved, but if those easements are platted and recorded, then I wouldn't think there'd ever be a problem with that.
And that's a suggestion too, Charlie.
And we have done that with Habitat Homes on property that's been donated before. There's the ones that in Fannin right now are like that.
Well, let me just point out to you, and again, road trips are good. Just about a half a mile from this site, you've got another site there that is being logged or has been logged right now, right? And whatever you establish as a precedent here is probably going to apply there too. So you could potentially wind up with a lot of stuff going on.
They got a lot of road frontage on the logging side.
Yep.
So what is for knowing that this is going into an R2 is what we're approving, if we approve it. What is the frontage minimal, for 60 feet? So
There's the extra.
all of these are 178, 108, 110, 111, 108, all of the fronts are double that.
Yeah. As she has.
Because they're
she's
1
got-
acre lots.
She's got regulations on panhandle lots and things like that.
I don't think you ever meet that regulation.
But, yeah, whatever is established as a precedent on this particular site, I assure you, you'll have to live with on other sites on Roberts Ridge, because there's a lot of undeveloped property on Roberts Ridge. I'm not saying that it's a bad, concept for affordable housing or whatever, but whatever you establish here, you're going to live with on Roberts intersection of Old Tales Creek and Roberts Ridge where it starts. Take a look at the large field. It's a field today, but there's a lot of undeveloped land on Roberts Ridge Road.
Jim, is this something that you could give them a recommendation on the number of driveway connections?
That ain't my part.
Well, she just said it's, the minimal is 60.
No, that's
I can-
60
yeah,
foot is the frontage, but if the board is going to, I know it's not your department, but you stepped up into it today. So, I mean,
I can certainly help.
yeah, because I think that the board, rather than just pulling something arbitrarily out, I think the board needs a recommendation.
We'll try to.
If 8 driveways aren't workable in there, and this is steep, so you add driveways, you add houses, then you increase the impervious surface that the water runoff is going to go back in there on the stream back there.
Well, as I understand it, right now, the Board of Commission, you're considering a rezoning request. You're not dealing with the subdivision.
Correct.
But you can put conditions.
Yes, and that's the reason for
With-
the request.
Within your approval of the rezoning,
Yes.
that these items be met, or the rezoning is null and void.
Well, I think what the condition will be is the maximum number of driveway connections.
We can do that together, yeah.
Can you do that before?
Before tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
After lunch?
Kathy, you've been working on a new job description, making this part of Jim's responsibility, I believe.
It's the county roads.
Well, so we could approve this as R2 with the stipulation it'd be no more than X number of driveways. And I guess that would be about it, right?
Yes, yes.
We couldn't put stipulation on the affordability of it, but we could stipulate no more than X number of driveways.
Yeah, I think what you would couch that is no more than a maximum number of driveway connections, and then you have to, Jim's gonna have to tell us that those driveway connections, because they're gonna branch out. No quicker than, you don't, how far deep into the property before they can split, because they're gonna be served, one or more may serve multiple lots.
Right.
So, I think that'll have to be some data that is received from Jim as well.
We'll have you something tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
I need help with one thing, though. The summary that was provided by and I know Lamar was absent, as I see, but the summary that's provided by the Planning Commission, it doesn't tell me if it's an approval or a denial.
I was telling Charlie, Lamar was not in, and Jim DuPont took care of that. He forgot, all of them were recommended for approval.
Okay, that just helps me with the
Yes,
resolutions.
and I apologize, I noticed it after I'd already turned them into the window and forgot to let her know.
That may be a task that's better situated or suited to either you or JC, is to circle that. Because you're not always sure that Lamar's always going to be there sometime. I think it's the second time. But all of these that are being considered were all approved.
Yeah, they were all recommended for approval.
All right, well, with those various considerations, I would be okay.
And I think we're gonna be okay with R2 down the road.
I don't see that.
Because our case.
I don't see that. I think we should be able to do this on a case by case.
I think you will definitely see it on Roberts Ridge Road.
I think so too.
Well, we may see in terms of, driveways coming out or whatever, but the fact that we approve this for R2 doesn't mean that we're stuck with R2 on all of that road, in my mind. If it does, then I'm opposed to it.
It weakens our case.
It will weaken your case.
If we say no to one person, then our case in court is, well, you did this one,
Because there's no other R2 out there. This will be situated such that it is creating an R2.
Well, there is one across the street.
How did that get? zoned R2.
Well, they really all should be R2. If they were bumped into what now the code is, they would all be R2. I mean, now what the ordinance says.
What if we tell them just to make half as many houses and make them twice as affordable? Would that work?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, well, I have to think of it, I guess. Okay, let me find my cheat sheet here. All right, next one is Nicole Trubaugh and Edward Phillips. Orchard Loop Road, R1 residential density to A1 agricultural. That's for hobby farm residents. Personally, I'm okay with it.
Everything around is R1. Surrounded by R1. Right, Karen?
It's got some A1 to the east and west of it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or A1 on the back page.
Is this what we're talking about here? Okay.
It's not
R1.
Yeah.
But it has R1 around it too.
And they got their application in just for the, changes in the.
Their opposition.
There was one opposition, and that was the, she is this.
What was her objection here?
I don't know for sure if you ever got the email in there, or she sent an email, but she was, Miss Vicky is, I think she's, a lot of times has her place for sale, and she just wants it to be crisp and nice as people drive the road. She's worried that it might not be a hobby farm.
And then they had this, all of these other neighbors wrote
Yeah,
that.
they themselves went and sent letters to all the
Right.
neighbors to let them know what they're going to do. They got some few responses themselves that they gave them. And then I got an email or a letter, it was an email from Miss Vicky that she was not in favor of this.
No, see.
Just keep going.
Okay, here it is.
You wait.
Well, I see the nature of the objection, but given the fact that there's everyone all around them, I don't see. Okay. All right, next one is Walnut Grove LLC. Tells Creek Church Road, A1 agricultural to A1 agricultural conditional use. This would be for a wedding and events venue.
Go with it. They have plenty of land, it's a perfect venue for that.
streets to it.
Can we cut them off?
Yeah.
They won't all make money.
You know, keep going this rate, we're going to start having divorce venues too. Okay, Jurgen Welsh, on Upwood Lane, R2 residential high density to R2 residential high density with conditional use. And that's to build a primary home and a guest home. I'm good with it, so. Okay.
We take about a 2.5 minute break.
No, but how about 5? I don't move quick enough for 2.5. Okay, are we all back? Okay, next item is appointment of a member to the Gilmer County Building Authority.
Citizens wishing to speak.
I always skip that. I think it's a psychological thing. Okay, citizens wishing to speak. Anybody that would like to speak on any topic?
My name's Sam Walker. I'm here on behalf of Buckhorn Property Owners Association, and with regards to the lease that we were in with the county for I think about 10 years, something like that. I would like for you guys to reconsider that lease, at least on either a 6-month basis or a year basis, so that we can continue to maintain the park until at whichever time the county has a concrete set of plans to expand the golf course or into that area. It would benefit us, and I believe financially it will benefit the county. I have spoke with all the board members and a lot of people in the community also, and I understand that there was an incident that was brought up when I met with Mr. Paris, and you know, it's like I explained to you, this was a one-off incident. We do feel that we maintain the park, we carried insurance on the park, and the reason why we did that was for use of our residents within the community. You know, and after speaking with everybody, we would like to continue the lease, if possible, in the same manner as it was before. It's, you know, because what we're afraid of is that, you know, with the cost of fuel and the maintenance, won't be upkept as well as we're doing it. We're mowing it every 2 weeks, you know, and we would graciously continue that maintenance on that park if permitted.
Obviously, I'm only speaking for myself here. I understand your reasons and your concerns. In particular, I understand the concern of having people on there that may not be covered with your insurance. Your concern, well, I guess I should say our concern is directly opposite to that, in that we're concerned that anyone, it's county property, and anyone that wants to come walk around there or whatever should be able to do that. So we do have two opposing problems there. I wouldn't be opposed to discussing with the other commissioners the idea of a 6-month lease, but in my mind, any such lease would have to have a provision that anybody can use it, and that is not what y'all are looking for.
That is correct.
And I will say this, that in terms of upkeep, it will be kept up. You don't have to be concerned with that. And I'm totally confident that if ever it's not, that you'll let me know.
So we just have we have sort of we're butting heads on that one issue. And I don't think y'all are flexible on it, and I don't think I'm flexible on it. It's just as my one vote. So we just have to see where it goes, I guess.
I'm good with the decision we made to not continue the lease.
Yeah, same for the exact reasons of allowing any county resident to be able to use the park.
And I understand that, you know, and in the past, because we were leasing it, you know, we were under, you know, the understanding that we had control over the park.
And we're not saying you did anything wrong when you did that before because you were leasing it. We're simply saying that the solution that we see is not to renew the lease.
Okay, we appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on citizens wishing to speak? Now, appointment of members of the Gilmer County Building Authority. And I understand Joanne is willing to serve again. Unless y'all have some other candidates. And I would,
Glad she's willing to do it.
yeah. All right. Discussion and possible action on payroll timekeeping system. Right now, the problems that we're encountering is that various departments are all using their own methods of timekeeping. Kathy, keep me honest on all this. And it's causing a great deal of confusion because it all has to be, when they do their thing and send it in, it all has to be melded together in our HR before it's sent to payroll because the payroll has to be sent in a consistent manner. The big downside to that is each department or several departments have very different rules on overtime. Fire department has different rules. It's not just 40 hours plus. The sheriff's office has different rules from that. And a lot of the employees don't understand what those rules are anyway, and it's not their job to necessarily. So we want to be able to standardize everything. A lot of the other departments too are recognizing some of the deficiencies and starting to look into getting their own system, and we need to have something that is designed from the top and is consistent all the way down. And that's what this would do. Currently, the payroll is costing us about, or that system is costing us about $700 a month. The new system would cost us more like $1,100 a month, just a hair over. But it will bring us into compliance.
It's per pay period, not per.
I'm sorry, per pay period. That's what I was thinking. It's just not what I said. So, we need something that'll bring us into compliance, keep us compliant on all of our overtime, and we don't want to worry about an audit and having discrepancies. So that's what this is about. And we have the expert here if y'all have any questions on it.
So the sheriff's office has had a separate different pay period for all these years.
Okay, they do, yeah, we just found that out by auditing the system. This is my first year of payroll being under HR. It's always been under finance. My background is I used to work for a payroll company, and Macy, who processes payroll now, she has a lot of payroll experience as well. So we really audited and looked at the whole process and everything and found different people are doing different things. We went to each department head and elected official and really trained everybody, because not everybody understands the Fair Labor Standards Act laws or the particular rules that we have set in our handbook and such for the county. So people were not exactly calculating their own time cards correctly, because it's all a manual process. It's literally done on individual spreadsheets or by hand, and they just don't know the rules. And so having a new system will really ensure that everything is being done properly. The rules will be set into the system, so there won't be error. There's a lot of benefits of it. You could put schedules into this as well. Requesting time off can be put into it. Keeping track of their accruals will be accurate, where now they're calling us going, hey, do I have enough time? Or they'll just put the time down and we have to catch it, you know, to correct it. It's just a lot of manual process, and when you have a lot of manual process in payroll, then it opens you up to errors, so.
We're looking at them and call them. You know what that's saying?
Yeah.
If this is what you think we need, I'm fine.
I think it's necessary.
I'm fine.
I think at this point, because we're growing, that it's important to get this in place and have worked out. It'll take a while to implement this. A big cost, of course, is the special time clocks. But we have asked every department what they prefer, what will work for them. A lot of them will just use their computers at their desks, you know, in the office to clock in and out. Others need actual time clocks. And so we really wanted this to be where it really works for them, what they need, each department. And so we really have talked to each one to get a feel for it, so.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy and Macy.
Any other discussion on that? Okay. Discussion part and possible action of an additional part-time employee at Park and Rec. One of the things that I'm going to ask tomorrow night is we have moved Gary Watkins from the airport to Park and Rec. He's going to be mowing lawns and stuff out there. I will be asking for a budget amendment to move his salary from the airport budget to the Park and Rec budget.
Charlie, I'm sorry, who did you say?
Gary Watkins.
Oh, okay.
And he will be doing part-time. It may very well be that a little bit down the road, I may have to ask for another part-time. We had the discussion earlier about need for more at Park and Rec, but for now, we're gonna go with this and try. We just need to move that funding. Okay. Discussion, possible action of an agreement with the Gilmer County Chamber of Commerce. Is everybody familiar with what that is?
Yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Discussion and possible action of 2 appointments to the Ethics Board. I did receive John Marshall's resignation from that, now that he is the post-commissioner-elect. I do have one name to submit, which is Lex Rainey. Y'all have any?
I do, Diane Watkins.
Okay. Hubert, do you have anybody you want to submit?
I'd mention the possibility of Dennis Ralston, but I'm fine with your two, Diane Scoggins. Right?
Dan Scoggins. I just, when I
Oh,
said
you
it, I was
Watkins.
like, I did, because I'm still got
So
Watkins.
I'm fine with those two.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, we do have, I'm asking, do we have the person filling the position that the previous appointees appointed?
Well, he has not resigned. I haven't had a conversation with him about whether he's willing to stay on.
It really doesn't be up to the new people to ask.
I think it would be, yeah.
I'm with you.
So what the new people would ask him if he wants to stay on?
Yeah, his appointment, he was the one that was selected by the other two.
Okay,
So, you know, the question would be, shouldn't they be the ones to
I gotcha. I
ask
didn't
him
know that.
about that?
I guess he knows that.
Well, they should have, I mean, they should have approached him. But we appointed two, and then those two picked someone else. And I think it's important that we not appoint all three, that
Right.
those two pick somebody that they want. And I'm sure they'll probably want to stay on, but I don't think we probably want to get into that.
Right.
Okay. This is going to be an interesting one. Discussion of possible action on suspending the river outfitter's license. I kind of expected to see at least one of them here today. He must not know about it, he or she. Anyway, I have written an email. I don't remember if I copied y'all on it or not.
I haven't seen it.
Then I didn't.
No.
Okay. I wrote an email to both of the river outfitters. I was getting complaints. And of course, some of the complaints that I was getting were accompanied by pictures and videos. So it seemed pretty clear to me that they were legitimate complaints. So I sent an email to both of them. And the gist of that email is basically that I'm tired of the fight, and I don't plan to keep fighting it. You know, they either do what they're supposed to do, or my position will be we suspend their license. If they still don't do what they're supposed to do, we just revoke their license. I'm just at the point, there's no more negotiation or discussion about it with me. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of fighting the fight. They either do it or they're gone, and that's my feeling on it. Now, since that has come about, and I went ahead and asked it when I put this on the agenda, but since that's come about, I've made a number of trips out there, and I haven't really seen any problems when I've gone out there. The impression that I have is that they have kind of cleaned up their act. Now, whether I'm confident that that'll continue, that's a whole other thing. So I didn't want to take this off. I wanted to use it as an opportunity just to officially tell the river outfitters, the other commissioners in Gilmer County that I'm tired of the fight. I don't plan to do it anymore. They either do what they're supposed to do, or my vote will be to suspend and then to revoke.
I agree with that, on that, because we have laid it out, we've worked very hard to accommodate them. My question is, from my understanding, there's never been an officer out there all summer because of the shortage, is that correct? Or that's what I'm told.
That's a question that you would have to ask Stacy. I've never seen one.
Yeah,
But I couldn't say that there's never been one there. But
so that's unfortunate, because if that were happening, and maybe it's, I don't know, on us to get to pay an extra security guard, not, on the weekends, I don't know.
see, in my mind, it's not on us, it's on them. If we have to pay an extra security guard, then I think that dollar ought to become $3 or $4.
Yeah.
Whatever, let them foot the bill for it, because they're making money there.
Right, well, I mean, overall, we're sort of footing the bill for that security guard or the officer in a general sense of the way.
And in the sense that, in the sense that we may get one when it's available. If we're talking about we're going to pay somebody dedicated to be there, then I just believe that's on them.
I do believe it's on them to follow the rules. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely. But should we have to pay somebody, should the citizens of the county have to pay somebody to make them follow the rules?
No, should not.
Okay.
They'll have to pay.
It ought to be a no-brainer. They ought to just follow the rules, and there shouldn't have to be a security guard.
I agree. I think we've been so lax on that.
Well, and that's why I say I'm done with the fight. You know, we've argued back and forth with them. We'll tell them you're doing this, and they say, no, we're not. I'm just reached a point, I don't care whether they're doing it or not. Somebody's doing it, and in my mind, it's up to them to make sure that the rules are followed. So, I haven't really figured out how much of my time has been spent on dealing with the issues at that takeout since I've had this job, but I know it's a lot. And I know I'm done with it. They can either follow the rules, or as far as I'm concerned, they can shut the door and leave. My only regret on that is I don't want to have people coming to Gilmer County looking for a good time and finding closed doors.
There's another outfitter that was moved to town, so he's very responsible for it. That has another successful outfitter.
And I think one of the others has the potential for being, if they get on their people a little bit about what's going on. So I'm just using this as an opportunity just to officially say that as far as I'm concerned, you follow the rules or you shut the door.
Absolutely. Your email may have had some effect, let's hope it has. And let's look at the fee that you charge.
One of the things that I might have mentioned in my email was that I would not be opposed to shutting down that entire location as a takeout point. Now, I mentioned that to one of the outfitters probably a year ago, that, you know, if things didn't improve, that I would probably support you shutting it down. And he or she took it entirely in an incorrect way, thinking that that meant that I would be willing to sell, and he or she was absolutely willing to buy. And so I had to clarify in my email that that's not what I meant. You know, I meant we'll put out some picnic tables and people can have picnics or whatever, but nobody's going to use it as a takeout anymore. I think that may have had at least as much of an impact as any threat to suspend or revoke licenses, because I honestly don't believe anybody feels that we'll ever do that. And anybody that does feel that way has a very high possibility of making a error in judgment, I think. You know, granted, I can't do it alone, but I'm going to have to get one more. So, anyway, I'm done. Ran over.
You know, I think we've given them so much.
Yeah.
And I think a picture or two of them across the line is sufficient for suspension, and then another, you know, for however long.
Another thing that is not going to happen anymore. Sandy, do we still have all those forms that we were given for? Okay. You know, we initiated a means for validating the dollar per person last year, and it involved them counting up their liability forms, the number of people and so forth, and coming up with a figure that way. One of them said he was not going to do all that work, dropped a box of the forms on us and said, let me know when you're done with them. That will never happen again, ever.
It should have been revoked right there.
It should have been.
Suspended.
Well, there's, looking back, Hubert, there's probably a dozen times it should have been revoked right then. But the attitude seems to be, for some, that I'm going to do what I want. And, you know, I have one that just tells me flat out, I'm going to do that. Okay, fine, you know, then I have a license. I'm just done with it. Just completely done with it.
guess my concern is, when this is no longer a problem, where your time?
Well, I'd probably be making road trips with y'all at various locations. Well, it's,
I'm glad you sent the email. I'm glad that something was said again.
I'll go back and forward it to y'all. So, I generally need to copy all of those things, but sometimes I get so single-minded and I'm a tad bit upset that I forget to do that.
They will clean the things before you
I might need to do that, but the gist of it is that I am just as much over this as if I was Barbara Walton to tell me I can't have a motorcycle. So. You got no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
I want a motorcycle.
A motorcycle.
Well, depends on where you were raised.
You remember that? So,
Well,
good for
I
Barbara.
wanted one since before we moved up here, but especially after we came up here. And, I told you what it would cost me too. You know, she assures me that motorcycle will cost me at least half of everything I own. And that's how over it I am with this,
Barbara's a wise woman. Besides, there's no directional thing on a motorcycle. There's no navigation system on a motorcycle.
Yeah, but if you get lost, it's fun finding your way back. Okay.
It's got everything you need.
It does.
Okay, moving right along. Let's see here.
Or at least if you do that, wait until after January to do that.
Why?
Because then Hubert moves into the senior position.
Oh, trust me, there's no possibility. Okay, discussion and possible action on the Park and Rec Advisory Board nominations. We had talked the other day about each of us nominating 3 people, and those would represent various aspects of the park. And I was going through trying to pick 9.
Sat through the whole meeting.
Yeah.
For this.
I was going through trying to pick 9 divisions of the park that people could represent, and I really didn't come up with 9. I came up with 6. Actually came up with 7, but you can't have 7 because that's not divisible by 3, so it became 6.
What do you have?
Well, and I'm just throwing this out for y'all's consideration. One would be the sports, ball sports, representing the parents and so forth.
Youth sports.
Youth sports. Better phrase. The walking trail. The overall condition of the park and the outbuildings, that would be 3. Tennis and pickleball would be the 4th. The pool would be number 5. Civic Center would be number 6. Or maybe there's probably something I've left out that could be.
I know that the high school athletic director has agreed to be on the board, Paul Standard.
Okay.
Kevin said he thought it would be helpful, so because there's a good relationship starting here, so that could be a.
We're going to need to decide what the document is that creates the board before we start naming people.
Yeah.
So you can tell people, this is what you're going to be doing.
And that's what this is the beginning of.
Okay, but Paul Standard's already been asked to serve.
No, I'm just saying the athletic director of the high school in general, whoever that is, as another category.
Well, I have people calling that are saying, I want to serve since it's kind of got out there. We're looking at Parks and Rec, but I have not indicated any one of them. Okay, fine.
What about 5 and 6? What was 5 and 6? Condition park, tennis and pickleball.
Actually, I think tennis and pickleball could be separated.
And the pool, which one?
Who?
and then the Civic Center. Now, those are very much subject to rearrangement, change, additions, deletions, whatever. And I'm just throwing them out there for y'all to think about.
Should there be 2 for youth sports? And I only say that because it's such a large number.
If there is 2 for youth sports, then I would think one would be for policy overall. I think one of them should be parent, represent the parents. So maybe youth sport, parents, youth sports, policy. I don't know, I could see 2 for that. But with separate directions that they're looking. So the youth sport policy, maybe they are interested in the scheduling and the number of teams, all that sort of, yeah. Well, coaching and refs, that'd be kind of tough between that and the parents. But the parents need to have an involvement there. So I guess really, and you know, there's no rush on this, so we can take this back and y'all come up with your own list and we'll match them all together and see what we got.
I'm more interested in getting what's the document going to say.
Okay.
I mean, we're kind of shooting in the dark. And I'm,
The way,
I guess what got me to think about that, I was looking at the airport advisory board. And I know that we said this was not to be a decision-making board.
Yeah.
Airport advisory board, I was shocked a little bit. The board itself actually comes up with the airport plan. I'm going to see right now the plan. I don't see what I'm looking for. Oh, yeah. Make careful and comprehensive surveys and studies of existing conditions and so forth. Prepare and recommend the Board of Commissioners from time to time changes in plans of the airport layout plan. See, that ought to be the airport manager. So, what do we want this board to do?
I like the idea that this board would prepare and offer recommendations for changes. I wouldn't want them to have the authority to make those changes, and in the past they did.
Okay, I agree. They don't report to Kevin, for example.
No.
Right.
No.
I think we agree on what it would be. It's, I think sometimes I'll look at the airport plan.
Yeah. And that's another one that's, I don't know how long it's existed, but, you know, a lot of these that we put in place a number of years ago are not necessarily what we might think it should be today. So,
I have some names when we get ready for those, but I'd like to see the document first.
okay, how about, I'll work on a document between now and August, and if y'all want to work on one, we'll take the best out of them and put them together.
Or some bullets of each.
Bullets, yeah.
Together.
It doesn't have to be a formal
I
document,
assume
just
we-
bullets.
Some other counties do the same thing.
They are, I'm looking, I just searched it, Milton, they've got,
I won't start.
Yeah, we just have to be careful that some of those big counties.
Ideas.
I think one, and I know y'all come up with some different names or categories, but I think the soccer probably needs to be represented.
That's a good one.
Because they're an independent body down there. I don't think if you give them a voice, it may be difficult for them to.
Yeah, that, I just didn't think of that.
good call.
I think that there should be a school system person on there too. I mean, maybe staff, maybe
Kevin's got an excellent recommendation there, just because
The school board
the
relationship.
program at the county level builds the high school level.
And also, those are, we use our facilities. We use our football fields.
Yeah.
I think they need to have a separate,
Yeah.
separate representation.
I think it naturally should just be the assistant, the athletic director at the, within the school system. I think that, so there, that gets you 8, but Kevin and I can develop, what sort of plan you want that advisory board to, participate in and to give you guidance on.
Okay.
That would be great.
And in my mind, they participate and give guidance on all of these things. In particular, the overall condition of the park, or what recommendations they would make. The youth sports, that's always a kind of a contentious thing, and we could use some people, some unbiased people, looking at that.
And I will say this, I didn't mean to cut you off right there, but, I'm not trying to suggest that we incorporate he, she, her, and all that stuff, but maybe with the team sports, you have someone that represents the girls' sports, and then someone that represents the boys' sports. Because your girls travel in a different direction than your boys do as they begin to get into older leagues.
The only thing with that is then we're going to have to get into defining what's a girl and what's a boy.
Yeah, I think.
Well, no, that's what I said. I don't think you get into that. So, it's by birth.
Look, the people we choose don't necessarily, they represent the whole gamut. We chose them because maybe they do have youth in there, but they have to be able to fit the whole picture.
They'll be
Have a
voting.
park for the whole park, not just there.
Yes, but they would have a specialty area that they would be, maybe, we used to call them subject matter experts.
That sounds like academics. Subject matter.
Well,
One other thing we need to do sometime, we really ought to look about a master plan for our recreation facilities.
I agree.
For the
What's
future.
undeveloped and what has been developed and all that. Sometimes we really need to.
I would suggest that we need to maybe, if we can, have that in place in time for the 23 budgets sessions, in case there's something we need to budget for to start moving that along.
Rick's in it.
Pardon?
Rick's in it.
We're not going to budget 10 million.
No, we're,
Hey, maybe we can budget finding the location.
You said master plan.
Well,
and fill it in as we go along, but,
maybe in 23 we budget finding a location for it. Yeah, I like that idea. And now Kevin is a master planner. And he comes up with all that stuff. The only thing we have to do is cut out about 2/3 of it. We'll have a good plan.
Hey, you gotta ask. Only thing that's like,
That's right.
like you always say, I can always tell you no.
Well, let's talk about coming up with the master plan offline. So, any particular guidelines for the master plan?
I think you get a consultant that's versed in this kind of thing, done this thing before.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Works for me. I'll give y'all the budget amendment. So,
No, it's very expensive.
Charlie, I think,
No, I think it's a good
I
idea.
believe if you ask the regional commission, that they would have a planner that might assist in coming up with the master recreation.
But we'll certainly find out.
Or have a name on it.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on that?
Everything is.
Okay.
So we're not coming up with things, David and Kevin are, correct?
Well, actually, the county's going to consider to hire a consultant as a master planner. I think probably Kevin and I should wait until the consultant is actually hired, so that, I'd hate to prepare something and then the consultant come back in and rewrite everything.
Well, I think that
Wait a minute, that's two
we're
separate
talking about
issues.
two things, yeah.
Okay.
we're talking about for the Park and Rec Advisory Board, till y'all come up.
Yeah, that's one thing, and master plan is second.
Separate.
Okay.
And then we can, yeah, but one of the tasks I would charge the Park and Rec Advisory Board with is to develop a conceptual master plan for the parks.
Okay, but is that board to develop the master plan?
And
Is
that's,
that our responsibility?
well, I think, and that's where
They
you
may
go back.
recommend that we do it, but I don't think it's up to them to.
Yes, and that's,
Recommend.
and that's the recommendation. And that goes back to your airport advisory board. They give you the 5-year capital improvement plan every other so year. So that how much activity or participation do you want the board? And Kevin and I'll come up with something and share it with y'all, and y'all can edit it or strike it however you like.
I think one key to making this work is the effectiveness of Kevin in dealing with the board. That's not going to be an easy task. It's just going to be tough.
I think it will. I think Kevin will be able to work with them, because I think it will not be what the previous board ended up being.
Yeah. Be more advisory rather than involved in the day-to-day operations.
And I'm not questioning your ability to work with them, I'm just saying it's going to be crucial.
You know, before, it was like, you know, pick this color, get form,
Right.
just go off.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing to do whenever you're asked to get bids, get the best uniform for the price and stuff like that, and get somebody.
Yeah, they don't need to get into that stuff.
Just old Under Armour jerseys, and you can buy,
None of that.
just to get a jersey for a cheaper price, so that's kind of what's going on.
Let's take a look at what they come up with. This is not, this is not really super urgent. We can take a look at it, take our time.
I agree. It's better to
Okay.
mesh through it and get it right.
And Kevin, I have a question for you about uniforms offline.
He wants the Under Armour. Just kidding. Thank you very much.
I'm not going to elaborate on my feelings about that, but it does have a lot to do with the rat's fanny.
With the what?
A rat's fanny.
Rats.
As in, I don't give.
Oh, okay. I missed you. I was not following you on that. I'm envisioning the rat being Under Armour.
I was trying to be delicate about it. Okay.
Stormwater.
Stormwater runoff. We have problems, and we've always had problems on stormwater runoff, and they're getting a whole lot worse. So we need to consider, addressing that in an ordinance. And what I would like to propose is that before we go too far down that road, that we need to meet either as a board or I can meet with them individually with the Builders Association. And I want their input on this and I want their buy-in on this. I'm not looking to start another big back and forth on anything controversial. But they have to know that there's problems here too. So what I would ask of the full board would be permission to go ahead and bring this up and have these discussions with the Builders Association, and then come back to y'all with a proposal for y'all to consider turning into an ordinance. So, and of course, y'all are welcome to participate in any of that with the builders or whatever. We just have to advertise it, but we can certainly do that.
David, what would this look like?
The ordinance itself, actually, Hubert, I'm probably not fully qualified to discuss in particulars of it. There's a gentleman that's been assisting the planning commission, and he's the one that had stepped in, he was an environmental attorney, and he actually offered his services to the county with the development of an ordinance. Now, my recommendation is we accept him, and Karen, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, and he was an effective downstream owner of a development in town, and was able to not stop the development, but was able to make changes that would adequately protect those other property owners that were situated like himself. So I think that it'd be beneficial to include him in the development of that ordinance and to see, but I think it's going to most likely affect developers more than it probably would builders. So developers may also, and they don't have an association or organization themselves, because a lot of them are not residents of the county that we reside in. So
I don't know the individual you're talking about. I've seen him, but when you introduce yourself as an environmental attorney.
I know Hubert.
So I think we need another view. Maybe use that person, but there ought to be another view. Somebody that deals with it on a real basis.
Sure, I'm not suggesting that he be given, or we, the county, he be given authority to underwrite it, or the county fully adopt. I just think we ought to probably pick and choose which slice that whatever he offers that we'd like. And I do agree that you probably need input from those guys out in the field, the boots on the ground. Because design-wise, something may look absolutely fantastic, but construction-wise, it may be a complete nightmare.
How does this tie in with our land disturbing permitting process?
I think it would be part of it.
Well, it'd be interwoven with the land disturbing, because you'd be developing land, or you'd be disturbing land greater than an acre on probably 90% of the affected developments.
I'm okay to look at it, certainly begin the process. There was something else we talked about. If we do this, amend the ordinance or something else we talked about, I'll go with it, might revise sometime.
There are actually, because y'all know how lengthy the process can be with development of an ordinance that deals with the industry, I'd rather separate those, because Karen and I have got a lot of little things that really need to be amended in the land development ordinance, and if we try to pack that in together, I'm just not sure it'll all be done in a timely manner. And Karen's keeping a list, but there are several small minutiae that really need to be addressed. Do you have any input, Karen, that you want to share?
So far right now, the list is just, I think, 8 or 9 items on it that have come up along that just with different permits or different zonings, various conditional use, things that just come up that need to be tweaked because of just wording. A lot of it's just wording.
Yeah, issues that develop on a day-to-day basis. Just housekeeping.
And this would be. Do they go through the same exact process?
Yes.
But it would just be, you would probably need more time with the development on the one than the corrections on the other.
On stormwater, I would wager that that'll be a year-long project, if not longer.
Yeah, these other things would be the 3 months, 4 months tops to get them corrected. There's just a few corrections that we need to fix in the ordinance, and some of it's just wording, adding a phrase here, taking away a phrase there, to make it to where it's easier understood.
move forward.
Yeah, I think the discussions need to begin with the Builders Association.
So we take action tomorrow night, or is this kind of loose from that?
I would consider it to be loose. I think it's just notice to the board that Charlie wishes to go ahead and begin discussions.
I'm good with
Just
that.
so y'all are familiar with everything that's going on.
Good.
Now, I'm going to ask a quick question here that's not on the agenda, but it's not policy. I just need to get y'all's thoughts of it. I am getting requests from a number of people saying that they would like to be able to have meetings where they can ask questions, make comments. I think this is primarily concerning growth versus no growth, but obviously it could be anything. What I have suggested to them is if we're going to do that, since we have meetings every second Thursday at 6, that maybe on the even months, we have a meeting at 5, and it can be an advertised meeting where y'all are there. It can be a town hall meeting where I'll just sit and listen to what they have to say. Just all depends on y'all's level that you want to participate. But maybe on every odd month, we can have a meeting that starts at 5 and just let these folks come in, ask their questions, make their comments, and then we'll start the regular meeting at 6. So,
Isn't that what they do in citizens wishing to speak?
if you want to spend an hour on citizens wishing to speak,
Well, we have to.
well, yeah, but that's going to put in a 10-minute limit. I'm fine either way.
Well, spend an hour additional in a regular meeting or 7-hour special meeting. I don't know. I don't.
Well, why don't I just start off by telling them just to get their thoughts together and bring them to the citizens wishing to speak. We'll see how that works out.
I think I'd try that way.
I'd prefer that too, than an
Okay.
extra, or a work session, I mean, but they have 2 chances to.
I'm good with it. Okay. Now, with that, I do need a very short executive session. And I would make such a motion with no action anticipated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, folks, thank you.